Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Thank you all for tuning in. Today we're going to be out at Horning's Hideout. This video is being made in order to promote the new tournament coming up March 7th, the Reverberate Open. It's going to be Wild Rose's first B tier of the year. If you've been out to Horning's in the past, you know that there's 3 courses. This tournament is only going to be utilizing 2 of the courses. It's going to be Canyon and Meadows. Each division will play each course in their own respective manner. It'll be your classic Horning's Hideout tournament with paper scorecards, good vibes, but there are going to be some slight changes to each course. Some of the guys with Wild Rose are going to be bringing out brand new baskets for some alternate pin positions. With that being said, hole 2 and hole 12 will play as par 4s. Along with that, holes 6, 8, and 10 will also have some new out of bounds lines added to those. For the Meadows course, there's actually going to be 2 brand new holes. And I know what you're thinking, what is that going to make it a 20-hole layout? No, but it will alter the original course layout numerically. Along with the 2 brand new holes, we're actually going to be combining a few holes. For example, hole 9 will play to hole 10's end of a basket. Hole 14 will play to hole 15, although it won't be hole 15's original basket, it'll be a brand new pin position. It'll also be changed to a par 5. 16 will still be a par 5, but it's going to be pushed a little bit longer than the original position, and it'll be utilizing a brand new basket. There's also going to be some out of bounds lines in between those 2 holes, holes 14, 15, and hole 16. There will be some temporary signage that will help you navigate the brand new holes. There's also more information on disc golf scene, so I'm going to go ahead and put the link in the description. Make sure you guys stay up to date with all the information for that tournament, as well as register. Registration is open right now. Go ahead and pause the video, head on over to the link and register. Another cool incentive to register is the Players Pack for the amateur players. Not only will there be a script payout for the amateur players, which means we're gonna have some cool discs and some cool merchandise for you to be able to purchase with that. There will also be a couple brand new items in the Players Pack. A guarantee in the Players Pack is gonna be this sweet brand new Wild Rose jersey. You got the green accent with the black collar around the arm, and the brand new Shade Harrison logo in the back. Shout out to Shade, shout out to Paige. These came out great. Very light, very comfortable, especially for a collared shirt. I don't normally wear these, but man, this is so light and so comfortable, I don't think I'm gonna ever take it off. Along with that guaranteed jersey in the player pack, you're gonna have an option of 2 different merchandise options. We've got the original Wild Rose socks. These are my Colin Hayden specials. Very cool design, got the Wild Rose on the front there, great compression, and I definitely recommend for all you that have holes all over your socks, you know who you are. So you're gonna have the option between the socks and the brand new compression sleeves, baby, let's go. Got the KDG logo on the wrist, Wild Rose up top on the bicep. These came out really perfect. It's exactly what I want out of a sleeve. It's got a little bit of a grippy material up top, so it's not going to slide down when you're throwing 500-foot bombs. They work well for 300-footers as well. Although I do hear that these add about 50 feet to your distance, so not gonna say anything, but that's what I heard. They're also going to be available for purchase if you don't feel like getting them in your players pack and you want the socks as well. Either way, pretty great deal for a great tournament as well. So make sure you guys, like I said, pause the video now, go to the link in the description, register for the tournament, and when you get back, we'll be right back into the video. Without further ado, let's go ahead, head over to hole 1. And here we are at hole 1, a 350-foot straight tunnel shot. There is a gap down left that allows you to throw like a forehand out to the left, kind of pitch up for par. But the main play that you see for the birdie is a backhand, maybe putter shot. Just kind of drifts straight through the gap, gently fades down to the left, and kind of nestles down into the basket area.
Oh, it's gonna work. Get out of the way, Ander.
It does drop off significantly past the basket, so having that speed control is definitely a plus in order to get the birdie. It's mainly just hit the gap, find yourself down there, and see if you have a chance at a putt. Anders' drive was a little bit off to the right, didn't really have a clear chance at the putt, so smartly lays up. I full send it right here, and it kind of was a tone setter for the day. Luckily hit the tree and dropped down. Alex with a nice birdie to start.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Andrew and I will tap in our pars, which really is not a bad score for hole 1. Brings us to hole 2. You got a 450-foot kind of dog leg bend from left to right. You have this tight gap off the tee. There's obviously the trees to have to miss, but that stump right there, bottom left, kind of gets in players' heads, as well as the low-hanging branches. Forehand or backhand play on this hole. It's really just hit the main gap or this left-hand gap that I hit and get yourself over to the right without pushing too far straight. If you push too straight, you're going to be contending with these big ferns and trees. It's tough to get all the way there parked at the basket with a forehand. The play to sort of park it is like a backhand turnover that just kind of pans the whole way over to the basket. If you turn it over too much off the tee, you're pretty much wide open towards the basket. It is on a little bit of a hill and a stump right here, so it makes putting a little bit challenging with the rollaways. Definitely a tricky but gettable par 3, and you really feel good about yourself when you get it. Brings us to hole 3. Really a tricky par 3, only 322 feet. Goes uphill, then back downhill, and the basket's actually on a slope. You could either go right side, backhand hyzer, backhand up the middle, turnover, or I like the straight forehand shot right up the gut. It's really a tricky shot that you have to push real straight through all the trees and then just get a slight gentle fade either to left to right or right to left, depending on which gap you want to hit. This hole really shows its teeth if you don't actually get all the way close to the basket for either a putt or an easy pitch up. Like I said, the basket is on a slope, and so it's real hard from up on that hillside to just get it all the way feathered down, as you see Alex does very nicely. But if you run a putt or an approach, you can see all the ferns and the downhill slope that you're stuck with, and it really makes getting that par or birdie very challenging. Even a 25-footer like this can be very scary with that downhill slope. Brings us to hole 4, a 285-foot par 3. You're pretty much going up the hill and then it levels out towards the basket. There is a clear line to get to the basket, but because we are playing in the woods, you can spray and pray a little bit and get yourself lucky enough to have a putt. This is a tricky hole. If you do kick real early left or right, it's a tough one to scramble. The basket is on a little bit of a slope, so approaching the green can be a challenge in its own right. A common theme out here on Hornings Meadows is the baskets are usually on a slope or have a potential of rolling away, which really makes it a tough mental challenge all day long on the putting greens. So you really want to focus up, get your approaches clean, and get those putts knocked down when you can. Otherwise, it's going to be a long day for you out on the Meadows course.
Teamwork.
As you can see, it was slightly raining on us today. Brings us to hole 5, 236-foot downhill par 3. If there ever was a must-get birdie out here, I would say this is probably on everyone's list. There's a main gap to hit off the tee, and it really is just a putter, hyzer, from right to left, sloping shot. You don't want to push too far straight. It is a little blind off the tee. You can't see the basket, and there is some challenging trees to avoid, as well as that hillside to not have yourself roll away on.
Yeah.
But as far as, like I said, must-get holes on this course, you see this one probably has the highest birdie rate on the course.
Yeah.
So you really want to get yourself a 2 on this if you can.
Yeah.
That'll bring us to hole 6, 302 feet. Definitely plays a lot further considering how uphill this one is. Like I said, it's very uphill. You have to hit a pretty tight gap off the tee and have it bend to the left.
Yeah.
And then it's quite a bit over to the left. It's not just right around the corner. Pretty much one of the hardest holes to park on this course, and one of the hardest holes to get up and down to save a par if you're off over to the right like I am. If you kick early, you're pretty much accepting bogey at best, unless you're throwing about 450 to 475 worth of power uphill and to the left, or if you make a nice little throw in. Very tough to get the birdie on this hole. Along with the difficulty off the tee and scrambling, it also is on another slope. So if you're coming up short or if you're hitting one of these stumps, it could potentially roll down the hill to the left, and then you're stuck with an even harder putt. Ander giving it a pretty solid go for the birdie, but at the end of the day, he's going to take par, and bogey is not too bad after hitting first available.
Yeah.
That'll bring us to hole 7, 409-foot par 4, up the hill and to the right. I would say the initial obstacle is just that tree off to the right there, that if you kick early, either left or right, it's going to be a really tricky up and down for birdie. It is a par 4 and it's not necessarily a long hole. It just is a little bit tricky if you are off to the left or right, because there are some trees you're going to have to navigate. Once you get up to the typical landing zone, I guess you could say, it's not super difficult to get over towards the basket. However, the basket is on another slope, or at least it's kind of flat where the basket is, and then it slopes behind the basket. So coming up too short with the approach shot, or even running it and going way past the basket, could end in an easy bogey. It's a pretty smart move if you're 80 feet to the basket to just lay up and tap in your par. It's a little flat, kind of like a little bowl, so you do have the opportunity to lay up those shots. I decided to run it, and I got away with it.
Let's
Sneaking one in
go!
for a nice birdie. Alex getting it done the more conventional way, and Andrew's going to scramble himself to a nice par. Brings us to hole 8, significantly downhill, tight tunnel shot, 404 feet. This is probably one of those holes where you want to throw every disc in your bag, but you also only want to throw one shot. Main objective is just to hit one of these gaps on the left side or the right side. You don't want to hit early and have yourself be way up the hill. Getting more than halfway down the hill, I would say, is a success on this hole, and if you're able to scramble yourself into like a par position, then that's also a huge bonus. There are pretty clear gaps to get to the basket. It just takes a tremendous amount of touch and speed control to land right by the basket. As you can see, it does slope again past the basket. If you don't have the precise speed control or stability needed to land it close to the basket, you could potentially go way out into the field, which is actually where I sort of ended up. So you're either halfway up the hill shooting down, trying to have some touch into the basket, or if you're out into the field, it becomes tremendously harder to save that par.
Oh, heartbreak.
Par definitely will gain you some strokes on this hole. A good drive and a solid approach, even if you're tapping in your par, it definitely feels like a birdie. It's a hole for me where
Nice par.
I'm taking par 10 times out of 10 if possible. Hole 9, a little bender from left to right, 332 feet. This hole brings a lot of debate on whether or not it should be a par 4 or how it should be played. So I'm actually really excited to see it played as a par 4, connecting the hole 10's end of a basket. Typically, if you're playing to the end of a basket for the original hole 9, it's quite up the hill and to the right once you get around this corner, and it's not really an accessible green. So either if you're getting birdie, a lot of times it's from a good throw-in. I do like the changes recently in tournaments where we're playing to this Hornings basket down below. It definitely makes it an easier birdie to get, but it's still not a gimme. Downhill and to the right, you're needing to have some speed control in order to get to the green, and typically you're getting the birdie on a really good putt. Definitely looking forward to seeing how it plays as a par 4 over the 10's basket. And here is hole 10. I initially wanted to show you guys from the tee pad. There's the tunnel shot off the tee. This right side is typically the gap that most players go for. It's basically a flex forehand out to the right that you kind of try to bend to the left and then back right. There is a pure gap to hit down that middle line. It just is a lot harder to get all the way out. And if you kick early and drop down into the field to the left, it becomes a lot longer of a hole and a tough scramble. I've seen it done before for par, but it kind of takes birdie out of play. This hole has a lot of potential to be a really good par 4. It requires you to throw 2 good placement shots and then have some touch approaching the green, because again, the basket is on another slope. So putting, running putts makes it a lot harder on a basket like this. But I do like how you can either go left side of these bushy trees or to the right side up on the path area. It's one of those par 4s where you could potentially play it a completely different way after 2 rounds of play. It is a trickier par 4, and the birdie is definitely a really tough birdie to get. The par also is pretty tough, and so a lot of times you're okay with par on this hole, even though it is a par 4. That being said, I am very excited to see how this green plays as a par 4 from 9's tee pad. I think that's going to be a really exciting hole. If you're playing it straight up, though, it's one of the harder par 4s, and you feel pretty good getting the par. I would say distance off the tee definitely helps, but it doesn't guarantee you an easy birdie. You still have to have a really good approach and a solid up and down. Brings us to hole 11, 240 foot, slight uphill, par 3. You've got sort of a main gap to hit off the tee if you're going backhand. It kind of requires you to throw a straight shot, a little bit of a flex from left to right, and then back to left.
Oh, that's amazing.
The basket is pretty much straight ahead from the tee pad, so you kind of have to just pick a gap and go for it. I typically like going this left side skinny gap. I feel like if you actually hit it, it's pretty open to the basket after that. I would say this is another hole on this course that a lot of players are really trying to get. It does become a lot harder to get, or at least scramble for par if you do kick pretty early.
Oh,
There's also some trees long. If you throw your approach shot a little too carelessly like I did here, it leaves you with a tricky putt. It's a lot more open this time of year than it is during the summer, but getting that par is still good on this hole. You'd really like to get a birdie though. Brings us to hole 12, 390 foot par 3, downhill. This hole, in my opinion, is one of the prettiest holes on the course. It does have a pretty sharp set of teeth though. The early set is going to be off to the left. If you happen to kick any of the initial trees in this main gap and shoot yourself over to the left, there is a hillside with a lot of trees and a lot of ferns that's going to really gobble up your disc, and it's going to make it hard to approach the basket. The second set of teeth is going to be down by the basket. Again, nothing new here. The basket's on another slope. Really, your only shot at birdie is getting all the way down to the basket where you actually have a putt that you feel comfortable running. If you kick anywhere early, even if you're out in the open, it definitely becomes a much harder shot and a hard up and down even to save your par. I'm pretty sure everybody that's played this hole has had a roll away on this green in some way, shape, or form. Getting birdie on this hole will definitely get you some strokes on the field. On to hole 13, another tough 339 foot par 3 that plays a bit further just because you have to throw it uphill. There's a couple gaps you can hit off the tee. You can go left side where there is a Mando over there that you have to go right side of. But the typical line is this right side gap that you kind of just throw real straight, slightly high, and then have it fade off to the left onto that platform area over there by the green. I would say going this right side is a lot safer than flirting with that Mando tree just because it's a lot more open over here to get up and down for your par if you do happen to miss early. There is a gap on the left hand side though, so if you kick over to the left like Andrew did, you can still get yourself up and down. And at this point in the day, it was pretty much raining the hardest that it had all day, and there wasn't really a lot we can do to avoid it. Again, with this basket, it is on slightly of a hill, so if you do happen to hit early or hit cage, there is that rollaway potential. This hole, though, I would say is another hole that guys are really trying to get. And that brings us to hole 14, par 4, 507 feet. This one is definitely a two-shot par 4, even though it is only 507 feet and it plays downhill. There's a tough, tight gap to have to hit, and there's really nothing better than seeing it fly through the gap without hitting anything and soar way out into the field. There's a lot of plays on this hole. A lot of people choose to throw something slower and just hit the gap just to get out in the field. It makes the upshot into the basket a little bit longer, but it's still definitely doable. Another play is just to pump something as far as you can out there that fades to the left. If you're able to hit the gap, pump it way out there and fade left, it sets up a nice eagle chance for you to throw it in, but it also just makes the approach shot a lot easier. This hole can get pretty difficult if you kick early and go either left or right and have a bunch of trees blocking your path. If you do kick early, birdie really is out of play. You're kind of just scrambling, hoping to get par. The basket isn't really on a slope itself, but there is a slope heading up to the basket, so there's a shelf that you can land approach shots on. But if you spike in too sharp, it definitely has a chance of rolling away. Really, the initial goal is just to get out into the field so you have an open look at the basket. And from there, it's just chipping up, getting on that platform, hopefully not rolling all the way down, and making your putt for that birdie. This hole can definitely get tricky, but I would imagine that most players are trying to get a birdie on this hole.
Yeah, buddy, good birdie.
But like I said, before you can do that, just got to hit that gap. Brings us to hole 15, another par 3, 238 feet. Right now, we're just playing the traditional over to the left end of a basket. This is definitely one that I'm excited to have combined with the previous hole. That'll make it a par 5, like I said in the intro. And we're not going to be playing to this
I
basket
see the
up to the
potential.
left on the hillside. We're going to actually be putting in a separate basket. For the original hole, though, for 15, it's basically a tricky backhand hyzer, or you can go forehand roller like Ander did, and it really is a placement type of shot. If you're not in a good enough spot for a look at the basket, then it really makes the birdie difficult. And with the basket being up on a hill, it's definitely a hard one to park. Most birdie chances are down beneath the basket, either circle's edge or a circle 2 putt. Being on another slope, though, it definitely brings in the rollaway chance, and if you kick off early, it really makes saving that par very difficult. Moving on to hole 16, par 5, out in the open finally after feeling like you're being handcuffed all day long. This one has recently been changed from its original mandatory out close near the basket.
Crushed.
New PDGA rules don't require that you have to make that mando anymore. Pretty much just a big pump off the tee, not fading out too far left down the hillside. I've definitely been there, and will have trouble finding your disc if you're there. Off to the right for the tournament, there's going to be new out of bounds lines, so you can't really just pull something way right
Oh,
and
my
be
finger
out in
got
the
in the way,
open.
but
You're going to actually have to hit a placement type of shot. From there, it's a bit uphill for the second shot, and it's pretty blind. We're going to be having a new pin position that's going to push it back a bit further, so I imagine it's going to take 2 really good shots in order for you to be in position to attack the basket. Right now, though, we're playing past the Hornings basket down the hill near the creek side. Really a lot of trees and ferns to have to navigate, and I've seen a lot of shots just get eaten up by either a tree or a fern. It's really smart to have a spotter out on this pin. Eagle chance is definitely in play on this end of a basket. I don't believe that it will be as much in the new pin position for the tournament, just because of how much further back and right it's going to be pushed. The out of bounds on the right side is also going to be an interesting change because, like I said, you can't just pump something way out to the right and be wide open for your second shot. So I imagine this hole will be a little bit harder to birdie, but it's still one that I believe you're going to want to get. Placement and distance off the tee are going to play huge
let's
with the out of
go.
bounds on the right side and the walk up
Good putt.
issues with the
Nice.
hillsides. All in all, I think this hole is going to play a lot harder, but a lot better during the tournament. Brings
All
us
right,
to hole 17. Almost done. 2 more holes. This one, par 3, plays a lot longer just because of the uphill nature and having to hit a specific gap off the tee. If you're able to pump it straight, I would say pretty much 400 foot of power, maybe 385. Get it up past this initial shelf, hit the gap. You got low hanging branches and ferns that are going to come into play, but you want to pump it out to the right side of the basket. And a lot of times it's a hard hole to park. A birdie usually is hit from a nice circle 2 or a circle's edge putt. Scrambling can definitely get hard on this hole if you kick early left or right. I would say par is typically pretty good on this hole, and if you're getting a birdie, it feels like a bonus. And with that, here we are at hole 18. If you've made it this far, go ahead and drop a like. This one, a par 3, 450 feet. The basket is on another slope, but the main objective is to get it through this first gap, clear over the field without skipping too far left. You definitely don't want to be out on the path over to the left. It makes scrambling a lot harder than it needs to be. I would say also missing early right is tough, just from personal experience. If you can get anything that's just out in the middle, even coming up a little bit short is going to make your approach shot a lot easier into the basket. If you can, pump it as straight as possible out into this little landing zone area before all the ferns. Big arms will definitely get closer to this basket and have an advantage of pumping a straighter shot all the way close to the basket, but if you're not able to get there, it's definitely smart to play short, pitch up to the opening, and get yourself an easier look to the basket. You don't want to be down left after 2 shots. It makes it a lot harder to save that par, and definitely birdie will get you a lot of strokes on the field. All right, and there you have it, 18 holes at Horning's Hideout. I would have liked to show you guys the alternate pin positions in the brand new holes, but it's just not how that worked out. I will be posting them soon on my Instagram, so make sure you go ahead and follow me on Instagram so you can stay up to date with that information. Shout out to both Alex and Ander for sticking it out through the tough weather conditions. If you haven't already, make sure you guys go ahead and sign up for the Reverberate. Again, the players packs are these sweet new jerseys and the sweet new compression sleeves. It's exactly what I want out of a compression sleeve. I'm very honored, and it's very awesome to be able to have my logo on some Wild Rose merch. So make sure you guys sign up for the tournament, get yourself some cool players packs. Again, thank you for watching the video. I hope to see all you guys out at Horning's Hideout March 7th. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one.